for this meeting has begun.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dustin DiCarlo, and on behalf of Caresoft Technology Corporation, I would like to welcome you to our Salesforce webcast, Build a More Responsive Team with Salesforce Wave Analytics for Government. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few housekeeping items. The audio portion of this webcast can be heard through your computer speakers, or if you prefer, you can use the dial-in displayed on the screen to listen through your telephone. All lines have been muted to reduce any background noise, and if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please use the chat pod on the left side of your screen, and we'll do our best to answer all of your questions at the end of the presentation. And if for some reason we do not get to your questions, our team will certainly follow up with you offline. Real quick, just to tell you a little bit about Caresoft. We are a trusted government IT solutions provider delivering software and support solutions to federal, state, local, and education customers. Caresoft maintains dedicated teams to support sales and marketing for all of its vendors, including Salesforce, VMware, and Symantec. Our contact information will be at the end of the presentation, so please don't hesitate to call or email us for any of your needs. This webcast is being recorded, and a copy of the presentation will be emailed to everyone. Now at this time, I would like to pass this off to Art to kick off our presentation for today. Art, the floor is all yours.
Great. So welcome to Salesforce Wave Analytics for Government. We bring data to life in the Government Executive Dashboard. Just to get us started off, I'd like to remind you that when considering future developments, whether it's by us or with any other solution provider, always base the purchasing decision on what's currently available, not what we may have coming in the future. So, did you know that you've probably got some of the elements of a connected city? Elements like 311 on-demand citizen services, social media, and more are all connecting individuals to their community. Each of these touch points creates vital data that paints a picture of their citizens' needs, behaviors, and habits. By thinking like the connected citizen, using data from all angles to build reliable, timely, and relevant services, governments can turn data into insights and insights into actions. Salesforce partners with local governments to help close the gaps, helping them to build a connected city, one that joins people, processes, and government across the community. Digital technology and online access enables administrators to place citizens at the heart of all operations, empowering leaders with the in-depth insight and targeted tools they need to build a better tomorrow. So the connected citizen expects their government to think and act as quickly as they do. Modern innovations in the Internet of Things have brought demands for responsiveness to new heights. Everything from smartwatches to trash cans are connected. Everything can provide insight if you know how to read it. The private sector has been doing this for years. For example, rideshare surge pricing incentivizes drivers to get on the road using real-time data insight to balance the supply and demand on the network. The responsive government knows how to send resources where they're needed, when they're needed most. San Francisco demonstrated this with an implementation of SF Park, an on-demand parking network. Meters can evaluate their own usage, helping you to learn how your city is operating. Meters are also connected to the internet, phoning home about how they're being used and when, enabling you to use modern data sources to understand daily going-ons. They can also adjust their own pricing, increasing resource efficiency, enabling you to do more with less. You can turn citizens into part of your workforce by engaging with them on what matters most. And lastly, you can use the data you have and are gathering to make smarter, data-driven decisions. But here's the problem. The answers to these problems are stuck in legacy analytics. Analytics and their disconnected natures are holding back agencies and governments from driving more productivity and effectiveness. What does it mean? There's a gap between citizen needs and your ability to service them. Tools are fragmented. Any given city will have a ton of systems in place, ready to support any given need. There's a ton of data just sitting out there, waiting to be turned into something useful and actionable. But citizens don't isolate elements of their community. They see their community as an extension of their day-to-day lives, where activities and events flow together as one cohesive experience. In order to remain relevant, government needs to support them. Their questions are bigger and broader than an individual system, and they expect these questions to be answered in the same timely manner and with the same quality of experience that comes with engaging the private sector. They expect their community leaders to be responsive in all cases. Citizens have bigger expectations of their government, and analytics offers a path to connect with them to drive a responsive government. Now, I'd like to hand it off to Brian Wise. Brian's the Principal Solutions Engineer for the Public Sector team, and he'll be taking us through the Government Executive Dashboard today.
Thanks, Art. Can you hear me okay?
On my end.
All right, great. Well, thanks, everybody. I'd like to continue some of the ideas that Art was talking about there and talk a little bit about Salesforce Analytics, and then we'll jump into a demonstration. One of the things Art talked about is better engaging with your citizens. And so I wanted to take a quick look at how the expectations of citizens are changing nowadays as we get to the connected citizen. So one of the ways that they're changing is that things have, hey Dustin, can you go ahead and switch me over just to the PowerPoint presentation? We're having issues with the slides online, or to the screen share. All right, there we go. So just kind of comparing the traditional citizen with the connected citizen. In the past, people used to call in, expect to be helped Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, fill out some sort of paper form, and it may or may not get resolved. And in today's world, citizens, they expect to be able to be helped at any time. They expect it to be self-serve. They don't want to call. They just want to grab an app, their phone, the web, get on, and they want to be heard, and they want to have their problem fixed and be able to get what they need out of their government. One of the problems that we come across in government is that in order to be more responsive to your citizen is you need access to all of your information. So your citizen might be calling into a 311 call center or contact center, and they might be submitting a problem about a pothole. All of that information would be in your 311 center. Your public works data might be in a totally different system. Your outreach campaigns on what you're doing to improve potholes during the winter months might be going through a totally different campaign, through a different system. These may be in Salesforce systems. They might be in other legacy systems, on-premise systems. And all of the information that you need to be responsive to your citizens is spread across all of these different systems. So if you're going to make the data-driven decisions that Art talked about, if you're going to be responsive to your citizens and your customers, you need an easy way to pull information from all of those different sources, make data-driven decisions, and take those insights and turn them into actions. And that's one of the things that we'll be talking about today. One of the other problems that we come across quite often within government and analytics is that with legacy BI tools, there's often a long process for getting access to the information that you need. So for example, you might have a report that tells you about all the potholes in your city or how fast you're responding to citizen requests for information or for services. But maybe that report doesn't provide exactly what you need, or maybe you've just brought on a new system and you need to get access to the information that's in that. What we found with legacy tools is there was often a lot of time spent designing maybe a data warehouse or a data mart, and what we've ended up with is a very brittle architecture, very precise schema that's been designed for very precise reporting requirements, but it's not flexible. And if you need a report changed or you need access to different data or maybe some unstructured data, that it's very hard to get access to that. And you end up logging a ticket. Often the design has to be changed even before you can get access, try creating a new report or getting access to the information that you need. And so looking at these kind of three challenges, the expectations changing on the citizen side, the disparate systems that your information is spread across, and some of the challenges with legacy BI tools, that is where we find that Salesforce Analytics can be a real improvement within your organization. So now we'll talk just a moment about Salesforce Analytics. It's an analytic platform designed for any data, any device, and any type of user. Specifically, it focuses on the business user, not the business analyst, not the data scientist, but just any user that needs access to the information. So as the screen shows here, you might be pulling data out of your secure Salesforce environment, like your contact center or your mobile citizen services or your communities, or you might be pulling it from non-Salesforce environments. Or it could be coming from not only back-end systems, but from connected devices, like Art talked about with the SF Park example. And so Salesforce Analytics has the ability to pull in any type of data from any system, put it into a secure FedRAMP certified cloud for you then to explore the data on any device and for any type of user. So now we'll jump into a quick demonstration, and then we'll come back and look a little more detail on Salesforce Analytics. All right, what we're looking at here is Salesforce Analytics. I've logged into my Salesforce environment, and I'm going to take a look at this application called City Executive Dashboard. Before I jump into that, just kind of set the problem here. Inside the City Executive Dashboard, we've got a collection of a lot of different information. We have service request information coming from our 311 system. We have crime data. We have business permitting and licensing data. We've got a lot of different data, and that helps us make decisions about whatever part of our business of running our city that we happen to be concerned with. The problem today that we're getting is we have a lot of people complaining it takes too long to get their service request resolved. So I'll show you how you could use this data exploration environment to jump into your data, take a quick look, and drive around and maybe change some of the reports to find exactly the information that you need. So when I click on an application is a container that contains dashboard and data and allows you to logically group information and give access to the people who would need to look at that. So let's start with the City Overview Dashboard. This dashboard contains the different data sets I was talking to you about. It's about 5 years worth of data, and it's got about 5 million rows of data in it. We've got our service request data here on the left. Over on the right, we have permit and business licensing information. Down on the bottom, we have crime data. And then we have some visitor information in terms of revenue that might be coming in through visitors and hotel occupancy data that we've collected. And this just gives a nice overview. And we've got 6 different data sources here. Our service request information might be coming from a Salesforce 311 system, whereas your permitting system might be coming from an on-premise type of system that you have in your environment. With the Salesforce Analytics Cloud, we can easily bring both of those together, and we can interact both at once. So for example, if we just want to look at this year's data, we can easily click on this filter here for year-to-date, and that filters all of our data sources, whether they're coming from Salesforce or non-Salesforce systems. Now, as our question was about why it's taking so long to respond to service requests, let's go ahead and open up the detailed service request dashboard. This will give us a lot more information on the types of service requests that we're looking at. Again, as we're interested in the service requests that happened this year to see if we can improve the performance of all of the various C organizations in satisfying these service requests, let's focus on just year-to-date. You see everything on the screen refreshes here. And when we take a look at this, on the top, it's an average of 6.3 days to resolve this year. We've got 20,000 open service requests right now, and we've had over 200,000 open service requests for the year. We can see the different types. We can see there's a lot of completed service requests, but also a lot of duplicate service requests, so that might be impacting things. We can look at things by region if we want to look at how things break down by region in the city. We can also see the trends here. So you can see, we talked about people are expecting 24/7 access. However, we do still see some weekly trends. During the week we see more service requests logged, but we are getting service requests over the weekend as well. Just going through a couple other visualizations really quickly. We have a heat map showing us where different types of problems are occurring in the city. So lots of graffiti in Ward 1. If we scroll down, we can see streetlights is a big one, and it's happening across a wide variety of sources. And then I've just got a couple other visualizations that allow you to analyze things by wards. So the city's broken up into wards, or analyze things, the number of SRs or the timeliness. And then down at the bottom, I do have the actual service requests here. And so, again, if this were coming from a Salesforce system, we could link back into our service console and see that. Or we can do any of the quick actions that are provided within Salesforce, like escalating a service request or commenting or creating a task on that service request. Now we're trying to figure out why it takes so long to resolve service requests. So let's focus on Ward 21, and since they're kind of the worst offender here. So I just click on that, and that adjusts everything on my dashboard. And so while in general the top item was graffiti, in Ward 21 the top item happens to be streetlights out. Right below that we have garbage cart maintenance and then potholes. And while this graph gives us a lot of good information, this is just showing a breakdown of the count of service requests by type. It's not really telling us how long that takes. So this is a good kind of starting point, but it's not exactly the information we need. So what we're going to do is go ahead and open this up and start exploring this information and kind of having a conversation with the information. Now you'll see all of my filters were carried over. I'm looking at my year-to-date. I'm looking at Ward 21. And I see the exact same information I was looking at on the dashboard. But we want to change this. We're not interested in the count of service requests, whether we'd like to see the average number of days to resolve. When I switch that, we can see it changes what are my top service requests. Okay. And while the number of duplicate service requests and how many are open or completed is interesting, I'm going to go ahead and just remove the status to make it a little easier to look at. Now you'll notice when I remove the status, it kind of messed up my visualization. And so I need to change my visualization. So I go to the visualization here, and these are all the different visualization techniques that we have available. And if you hover over any of these, it gives you some examples of how to use that. So a scatter plot is really great when you're trying to see correlations between multiple measures. So is there any sort of correlation between the number of service requests we have open and how long it's taking us to resolve those service requests? We could take a look at that if we wanted to. I just want a simple bar chart here. And now we can see we have garbage cart maintenance, sanitation code violation. And when I click on any of these, I have the ability to drill down into that, or I can see the raw data sitting underneath it. So I'm going to actually drill into the subtype of service requests. And when I do that, we can see garbage in the alley, 24 days to get that resolved. Dumpster not being empty, 14 days to get that resolved. So we've got some sort of problem happening as we transition these service requests over to the sanitation department, getting those fixed. And we really need to talk to the sanitation team now and see if we can figure out what's going on. And I've drilled down a little bit deeper than I wanted to here. So one of the things that I have access to in a data exploration environment is I can see a complete history of everything I've done. I started with my new exploration. I changed the measure. Eventually I drilled down. And so I'm just going to go back up one. And so here I have the garbage cart maintenance and the sanitation code violations. And I'd like to share this with my team and take a look at that. So I'm going to hit save really quickly. And I'm just going to save this into a collaboration environment so that multiple people can work on this. And then I'm specifically going to draw their attention to that. And so I go out here to a group, and I'm going to mention the One City Sanitation team and say, let's see if we can get this fixed. And send that out to them. Now this will post to their news feed. It'll also send them an email, and it'll send them a copy of what we were looking at so that we've got some context for the message that has been sent. So just to kind of recap where we were there, we did we started off on our dashboard, which was bringing together 6 different data sources. Then we drilled into the service request dashboard and used that as a launching point to go in and start doing some data exploration. Now, one of the other requirements that we hear often is that this information needs to be available mobile. We need to be able to explore our data wherever we are as city employees are out in the field working on things. And so I'm going to actually bring up on my iPad here Salesforce Wave Analytics. And this is logging me into the exact same environment. I've got that same city executive dashboard. And I'm going to go a little bit faster here, but show you how I have the exact same interactivity, data exploration capabilities, data sharing capabilities, and the ability to take action on the information I find right from my iPad. So I'm going to open up the city overview dashboard. You'll notice it's laid out just slightly different. I've got the filters up on top, and that's just because it's got a mobile optimized layout. So I could look at, my year to date, apply the same filters. I'm still looking at 5 million rows of data over 5 years worth of time, and I've got the exact same responsiveness from my iPad. I'm going to drill into the detailed service request dashboard, apply that year to date filter just like we did before, and then filter down on Ward 21. just like we did before. We've got that same chart that we wanted to go explore. We can explode that and start exploring. And then we can go in and change this to the average days to resolve. We can remove status from there. We can change the visualization that we were looking at. We can drill in just like we did before, so we have the ability to drill into the details if we wanted to. And we can collaborate just like we before. But given that we're on an iPad, we've actually got a little bit more flexibility on our collaboration. And then we can go in and kind of do some quick annotations here and circle those top two that are both sanitation related. You know, let them know how we're feeling about it here a little bit. We want to get this fixed. We hit OK, hit done, and this pops us out to an email, puts that annotated graph right on there, and then I can put my message right into my email. And so just, again, summarizing what we've done, we've taken a look, Salesforce, non-Salesforce data. We've started with a dashboard that was kind of built with an end in mind, but then we went in and modified that, had a conversation with the data, explored the data, and found a potential way to improve the responsiveness to our citizens. And we've reached out to the team that's in charge of that, and I'm going to start taking a look at that. Now I'm going to jump back to the presentation here. And just some real quick comments on the Salesforce Analytics Cloud. One of the things that we hope you saw is you're getting fast access to the right information. So we had all of the citizen information in one place. We were able to explore any type of data, structured data, unstructured data. Cloud scale and speed, what we mean by this is we're not spending time setting up a data warehouse, tuning a data warehouse, setting up a middle tier environment. Once you enable the Analytics Cloud, you can immediately pull your data into it and start working on that. So when I started this project working on all this information, I loaded first about 5,000 rows of data into the Analytics Cloud. Just kind of did some quick prototyping, testing that I would get what I wanted. And then I loaded the full 5 million rows. Didn't have to do anything different from a tuning perspective. I'm not building indexes or materialized views or cubes. I just put the data in there, and I don't have to worry about where I'm storing it, how I'm tuning it. That's all taken care of for me. And then all of the same security and permissions are there. So if you're using Salesforce, we can pull over all of the same security, the two-factor authentication, being in the government cloud, FedRAMP certification. Or if you're bringing in external data, we can apply that same sort of security across your data and as we open it up for business users to use. So just kind of to close things out on the Analytics Cloud, what we hope you'll find is that as you use the Analytics Cloud, it's a faster time to get to insight. So you've got your data, and it might be sitting in raw systems. It might be sitting in an enterprise data warehouse, just kind of where you are, depending on where you are today. And as you load it into the Analytics Cloud, you instantly get a search-based query engine. You get a schema-free design for more rapid building of the reports that you want, more flexibility. You get a collaboration environment. You get instantly mobile. You get native Salesforce integration. And when you compare that to kind of the traditional on-premise method of doing business intelligence where you might build a data mart or might spin up a cube and then use a data discovery tool and then build some reports and then export them out to Excel so that you can send them to somebody, we're hoping that you'll find that Salesforce Analytics Cloud gives you a much faster time to value by having it up in a secure cloud environment and allowing you to take those insights and take action on those. So now, bringing it back to what Art started with, what does this mean to the connected city? We've got kind of the analytics available now. Well, hopefully you're better connecting with your citizens. You're better engaging businesses in your area and serving those that are visiting your city, and that as a leadership team, you have the information you need to do all of those things that I just talked about in terms of connecting, that you have the information in a timely fashion and that you can take action on that information. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Art so he can kind of close things out for us.
Great. Thanks, Brian. So are you guys interested in learning more about how analytics can help make your city more responsive, or learning more about how the connected city operates and how you can become modern government innovators? You can download the Connected City ebook and learn how Salesforce is helping to establish the modern connected city. The analytics ebook will dive into greater detail about the Wave Analytics platform. And lastly, the 2015 State of Analytics white paper will walk you through the modern climate of analytics. The links to all these have been posted in the chat, and you'll receive a follow-up email with the links as well.
Great, so I think we can go to Q&A now. And just a reminder, if you do have any questions, please direct them to the Q&A pod at the top left-hand side of your screen. And I'm going to go start with a couple that came in earlier. First one being, how can this be scaled up into larger organizations and governments?
Yeah, thanks, Dustin. So one of the advantages of using the Salesforce Analytics platform and just the Salesforce platform in general is in a multi-tenant environment, it's built from scale from the beginning. So if you start with 40 users using analytics and then want to push that out to thousands of users using analytics, you don't have to do any changes on your side at all. The Salesforce platform is set up for that from the get-go. So that's scalability from a user perspective. And then scalability also comes up from a data perspective. And we support up to billions of rows of data. And you can have multiple data sets that you're looking at. And again, you're not worried about tuning those data sets. You just go and have access to it. You load the data, and you instantly have the ability to query it at the speed that you were seeing today. Hopefully that answers the question on scalability to large government organizations.
Awesome. And can you give another example of a use case for the executive dashboard in addition to the sanitation department example?
Sure. So with the government executive dashboard, this was just an example of leadership teams needing access to their information. And so as you're looking at what a city might need access to, so any of the services that you provide, are you providing them in the fashion that you want? One of the other things that we often see with government is often their budgets are very project-oriented, and how are we doing on those projects? Another thing that I've seen people do are procurement dashboards, open procurement dashboards, where you can see how money is being spent within the city and having a secure, transparent conversation with the citizens about how your money is being spent, how it's being budgeted, what vendors that you're using within your city. So that's kind of more of a procurement side. And then as you get into the various agencies within the city, it obviously will change depending on mission. So if you're public safety, you might have something about crime and where crime is occurring, what types of crime, and how could I better deploy a police force within my city. And so there's a lot of different options, a lot of different ways to use analytics within your organization to help improve the efficiency of your executive team and also help you better with whatever your mission is for your particular agency or department.
Great, thank you. Another question that came through is, can you explain how maybe a school district environment could use Salesforce Analytics?
Sure. So from a school district perspective, we've seen a lot of different things. One might be doing what they call kind of cohort analysis, where you're trying to take a group of students that have maybe gone through some sort of specialty program, maybe an early learning reading program, and then watch them over time as they transition from pre-K to K through 12 to college, and watching them doing what they call kind of a longitudinal study over time. Was that program helpful? One of the other things I've seen is trying to monitor for at-risk students and looking at program effectiveness. So maybe you've got a program in the high schools focusing around keeping students in school, those at-risk students, and trying to monitor that, see if it's effective. Is that program working? Are those students staying in school? We've seen things like statewide exam performance, analyzing that, attendance, free and reduced lunches, and then you get into all the back office stuff in terms of budgeting and financing, HR, things like that. So analytics can be useful across all of those things there.
And another question is, can you please discuss the ETL process?
Yeah, that's a great question on the ETL process. So obviously, if you're putting your data into the Salesforce Analytics Cloud, there's the notion of how do I actually load that data into the analytics cloud. We've got a couple of different options. So if you're pulling from Salesforce, there's a native loading process directly from Salesforce into the analytics cloud. And that's just built right into the tool. You can go in and say, I want these Salesforce objects, and I want to bring them in on this frequency, and that's about all you have to do. But if you're bringing in non-Salesforce data, or you're wanting to combine Salesforce and non-Salesforce data, we've got a couple of different options. One is if you have CSV data, we've got a nice simple CSV loader that allows you to bring that up. And that's pretty easy to use, works great. We also have a full set of APIs for loading data. So if you want to do something more programmatic in terms of loading your data, you can do that with our APIs. And then I think the most common route that people actually take is with our ETL partners. So we've found that most people looking for an extract, transform, and load technology have an ETL vendor of choice that they're working with already. So, you know, the Informaticas of the world, the Del Boomis of the world, Jitterbits of the world, and all of those partners have connectors for Salesforce Analytics. And you just specify the Salesforce Analytics Cloud as your target in, say, an Informatica process, and you can load it right into the Salesforce Analytics Cloud. One last thing I'll mention, we don't really have a preference when it comes to ETL vendors or partners that we work with. However, Informatica has a really interesting kind of lightweight ETL tool called Informatica Rev that's available, and we actually include that right in with the Salesforce Analytics environment. You can try Informatica Rev as part of your Salesforce Analytics trial, and the two work together. And it's really just kind of like a spreadsheet on steroids in the cloud that allows you to easily move data between environments and load into Salesforce Analytics. So again, lots of options on the ETL processes, and we wanted to leave you with a lot of flexibility if you've already got an ETL tool of choice.
And are there any analytic tools to do regression and forecasting?
That's a great question. We get that quite often. What tools are available to do some more advanced statistical things? So regression, forecasting, correlations, even get into machine learning. And right now within the Analytics Cloud, we're focusing primarily on data exploration. And so when you go to create a new report, it starts with a data visualization, and you have the ability to explore within that. And so right now, it's not a core competency within the Analytics Cloud. It is something that we're looking to add as we move forward in the future. And it is something that we also have several partners already doing today. And so again, we don't really have a preference when it comes to the partner side of things, but just to give you an example, SpringML is a partner within the analytics environment that has a very strong predictive and advanced analytic partnership. And what they do is, for example, use R or Spark, if you're in the big data world, to run the advanced analytic routines and then push the results of that back into the Analytics Cloud so you can then visualize those reports more easily. And so it is a two-step process that I just described there, where they're doing things in R, they're doing things in Spark. They also use the Google Data Analytics platform, so they've got a number of different options. They do those more advanced things with regressions, forecasting, maybe run some models, and then push the results of those models or the scored results back into the Analytics Cloud, and then present those to other people and let people make decisions based off of that information using the visualization platform and the data exploration platform of the Analytics Cloud.
Are you able to customize the Wave UI at all?
So the question is, can we customize the Wave UI at all? The UI of the actual dashboard itself, you have quite a bit of control over. So when we saw the city executive dashboard there and where I laid out the charts and the filters, you have complete control over that. And there's an API, so not only do you have control through the web browser, and this is all done through the browser, in how you build out your dashboard, but there's also an API for manipulating that kind of on the back end, so you can do more advanced programmatic type things. And just as an example of that, the dashboards we saw today with the government executive dashboard, what I did there was first create a template, and then I applied those templates on the back end to 5 different dashboards. We only looked at 2, the city overview dashboard and the detailed SR dashboard. But if you went through the other dashboards that were available, you would see they all have the exact same kind of look and feel, same color scheme to them. And what I did was I created a template there and then used the APIs to apply that template to all of the dashboards. So on the dashboard look and feel, you have control over that, and you can use the dashboard builder through the web browser to control that, or you can use the APIs. For the larger Wave platform and kind of the framework in which you have the dashboards, the data sets, the lenses, that's a little bit more kind of out of your control. It kind of is what it is there.
And what would be your recommendations as far as getting started for something like that? Is there a good first step to take?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And there are 2 great ways to get started on Salesforce Analytics. Or actually, let's say three great ways. One is if you go to the Apple Store and download Salesforce Analytics Wave application on your iPhone or your iPad, it comes built in with a playground environment with a set of data in there. And so you can download it on your phone and get access to that through the Analytics Playground on the mobile application. That's the first way. Second wave is just to Google Salesforce Analytics Playground, and there is an Analytic Playground where you can load some of your own data. You can connect it to your Salesforce environment if you happen to have one, and you can build out reports and dashboards. The only limitation of that environment is you can't store anything. You just go up there and you can kind of play with it. So the third method, if you're really interested in giving this a try, is to use Salesforce Trailhead. Trailhead is a free set of training that's available, and so just look for Salesforce Trailhead and find the analytics trail. And when you go through the analytics trail, it will give you instructions for spinning up your own developer org with analytics enabled, and it'll walk you through a set of exercises to introduce you to analytics. And this developer org is a fully functioning analytic environment, and you get full access to Salesforce Analytics, and you can load your own data. It's your environment, your login. You can control that, and so that's a great way to learn a little bit about Salesforce Analytics and try it out yourself.
And this next question I think is going to touch on a couple questions that came through and kind of put them together. But what if I only want to share reports with specific people? Can I do that? Is there a way to share pictures of graphs and stuff like that too?
So yep, good question. So if I only want to share my reports with specific people, the way we do that is what's called an app within analytics. And so we create an app, and then we control who can see that app, and we control whether or not they just have view access or edit access or management access. So you create an app, you put everything in there, and then you decide who gets to see that app and whether or not they have read versus write access within that app. Very easy to set up that security. We can also go further on that security in terms of putting row-based filters and things like that on that, and that's a little bit more advanced filters. We do have that capability. And then in terms of sharing it, we can email it out, we can export it, we can export it to images if we want to, of the chart or something like that. Or you saw me use what's called Salesforce Chatter, which is our within Salesforce a way to have discussions around things. So have a discussion around a dashboard, have a discussion around a record. That is Salesforce Chatter, and so you saw me use that today to share that information with the sanitation team as an example.
And as far as sharing this with other people, will you need additional licenses to do that?
So to share this with other people outside of your environment, if you want to take a snapshot of the graphic and get you know, a JPEG or whatever of the graphic and send that off, that's fine. Or like I did on the mobile where I sent off an email and it put the image right in the email, and I can send that off. You're free to do that if you want to. One of the things that we're introducing that's been in pilot in the winter 16 release and is going, hopefully, again, safe harbor statement that Art mentioned in the very beginning, is we're hoping that that will become generally available in the spring 16 release, is the notion of analytics within the Salesforce product called Communities. And Communities is the way that we take any Salesforce process or data and share that with an external partner, whether that's a partner, a citizen, a customer, any sort of outside environment. And so what that means is that framework of putting analytics inside of the product called Communities will be our framework for sharing this with external users, whether that's, you know, another city agency or just somebody outside of your environment. Could be a citizen, could be another city agency, whatever. And so as that is coming, that ability to do Salesforce analytics with inside of the community licensing, we're actually having to wait to see on that licensing. And so that information will be coming over the next couple of months is when we expect that. And with Communities, it's not only the technological way of sharing your data in a secure fashion, but it's also a cost-effective way, meaning we understand you don't want to license every external user. And so it's a totally different license model for that external users to make it cost-effective. And so, again, we're expecting that. It's in pilot right now. We're expecting that to go to GA in the future. And when that does, then we'll understand better what the licensing requirements are for sharing with external users.
Great. And another one is, can we use Wave Platform as backend and build a new interface using something like Visualforce or HTML? Is that possible at all?
That's a good question. Use Wave as kind of the backend and then expose Wave. And so right now, Wave can be exposed inside of a Visualforce page or inside of a Lightning page. And so there's actually a Lightning component for exposing Wave. And so those are the two options right now for embedding it into some other application. Again, that's through Visualforce or through Lightning.
And do you always need ETL, or could you use Lightning Connect for live connections?
So that's a good question. Can we use Lightning Connect for live connections? Right now, Lightning Connect is not supported with the Wave Analytics platform, and so you would need to move the data into the Wave Analytics platform. We actually store it in a specially designed NoSQL database so that we get the type of performance that we want out of an analytic environment. And so right now ETL is required. They are doing some looking to see how they can better connect with Lightning Connect, as was asked in the question, but we have not done that yet.
And it looks like it might be all the questions. I'll just give it another 10 seconds or so in case anyone has a follow-up question. Yeah, it looks like all of them. So at this time, I just want to thank you, Brian and Art, as well as all of our participants for being with us today. We hope that this webcast has been helpful for you and your organization. And of course, if you have any further questions or would like to request more information, please feel free to contact us. Thank you and have a great day, everyone.